Hello everyone, my name is Christopher. I use he, him, and z-them pronouns, and welcome to this week's episode of Speak Out. It's just me. Just kidding. I'm here with some folks for our episode about being Asian American and queer. So if our cast of characters could please introduce yourselves.
Hello everyone. My name is Belzy, and I use they, them, and they/them pronouns.
I'm Rainer, and I use he, him pronouns.
I'm Lily, and I use any pronouns.
Wonderful. I hope that this chair holding my computer is not in the video, and that the recording doesn't mess up, because it usually does. But with the magic of friendship, a la the unicorn we now have in the background, everything will work out. But yeah, because it's freshly Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we wanted to have a little conversation between a few of our Asian OutWrite staff members who usually are not on the podcast, so welcome. Plus Lily, who is usually on the podcast. But we have a few questions here that usually guide these types of intersectional conversations we have about different identities. So the first one is, how did you realize you were queer, and did being Asian American impact that journey in any way?
Who wants to trauma dump first? Because that is what's gonna happen.
I volunteer Lily.
Oh no.
The veteran.
No,
The veteran Lily must
I felt
start.
it coming. I was like, oh no. Let's see. I've had more than one coming out to myself moment.
That's real.
Yeah. I think growing up, I just always thought women were attractive and that men were not. And I was
So real.
Important.
It honestly, and I guess it does have a little bit to be with being Asian. So growing up, I always just thought that it was just everyone knew that girls were pretty and that men were stinky, and that was just the reality, and that women just put up with the stinkiness, and that everyone knew that the real beauty was women. So it didn't occur to me that people were actually attracted to men growing up as a little kid, and so then I was like. And so, which sounds so bad. I'm so sorry, men.
That's okay.
It's
I'm
okay.
not
I know. I'm sorry. It was just growing up, and then this is so embarrassing. But then in late high school, I my friend introduced me to K-pop, and they were so pretty.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, men can be pretty, and it just blew my mind. So I guess it was.
And
just...
now I'm bisexual.
No, it's so real. That's why I'm bisexual now. And so I realized oh, men can be attractive, and it just I don't know. And then I slowly just started finding men more attractive, in high school. So that's weird, but sexuality is a very fluid thing.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
And then I had and then I was like, well, maybe I'm just then I had my delusion phase where I was like, maybe I'm just straight, and that and the whole liking women was just a phase thing.
It was just a phase from ages 2 to 15.
Literally.
Yeah.
So then I was and then I was I don't know, or maybe I like women, but maybe I can repress it. But then, and then I had I don't know. And then I had a breakdown during COVID, and then I realized no. Yeah, I'm really bi. There's nothing I can that's how it is. And then, yeah. And then that's also when I realized that I was, non-binary during COVID. It's a little bit of the COVID non-binary pipeline.
That's a very common pipeline, I have to say. Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of my coming out story. It's been everywhere. I kind of knew I was bisexual for a while, and then I would have moments where I was like, maybe not. And then I'd be like, maybe I'm a lesbian, maybe I'm non-binary, maybe I'm straight. No, that one really only lasted, did not last long.
Yeah. It's that was a 3-hour manic episode. Me thinking I only like men.
So yeah.
And thank the goddess for it.
So real.
I will share this story because it is a very vivid memory in my soul. Because I had my full realized real queer realization while I was in the Philippines.
Ooh.
Which is oh no,
intersectional,
not the motherland. Oh no,
not the motherland.
I do have a very vivid memory of sitting in the car not wearing a seatbelt, because they don't wear seatbelts in the Philippines.
Mhm.
You just go. You just drive.
Yeah,
It's
that's
fine.
Korea too.
Exactly. It's like,
Maybe not now,
Dangerous.
but when I was there, it was like that too.
it's like accidents happen. Oh, well. Anyways, I was in the middle
Now
seat.
I'm gay.
Now I'm gay. I was in the middle seat. I was sandwiched between, like, I think my mom and, like, maybe one of my cousins. And I was just sitting there and thinking, as one does as a passenger in a long car drive.
Mhm.
And I was like, damn, I like women. And I was just like
And
thinking
then I
about
put
that.
my seatbelt on.
No seatbelt needed for this realization. Mentally, yes. But it was truly just a thought that appeared in my mind. And then it sort of sank in, like, really sank in, where I was like, oh no. Because in the Philippines, it was colonized by the Spanish in, like, the 1500s, 1400s or so.
Downvote.
Downvote for real.
Two thumbs down to colonization by the Spanish.
This is the most downvote, the fattest downvote that I can possibly give to Spaniard
The
colonizers.
Spanish
To
Inquisition.
the Spanish Inquisition, yes. So, speaking of the Spanish Inquisition, the one main thing that did really stick in the Philippines was its ties to Catholicism. So, I need you to imagine, as in the
Arnar.
Filipino tour, or the Philippines tour, being, like, having this, like, queer realization. And then also, hey, we have to visit some Catholic churches.
Uh-oh.
Because they're historical and necessary. And I'm like, oh no, not with my gay realization.
No.
Not anymore. So it was fine. It was just something that I was like, I guess I just have to accept this now and never tell anybody. And then I told my friends, because
And now you're here.
and now I'm here. It's like, oh no, outing myself to all public.
To every
To
public.
every public.
How old were you?
I was 13, 14. It was before my freshman year in high school.
Oh.
And yeah, it was just like, oh. Because always it's those, like, middle school, like,
Yeah.
realizations. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
damn, gotta
That's
cope
what
now, I
happens.
guess. And I had also had my realization that I am non-binary within sort of, like, that same span of time.
Mhm.
I think I was having, like a mental breakdown. And I was talking with my friends. And I
Common
was like,
theme.
and it's like, I was trying to affirm, it's just like, would you still love me if I said I was agender? And they were like, okay.
What does that mean?
They were like, sure. Because it's like, I don't know either. So that was something. And then my journey throughout was going back and forth being like, I had identified myself as, like, asexual, as lesbian, as bisexual, back to a lesbian, performing in compulsory heterosexuality,
Uh-huh.
back to lesbianism. It was just like a whole thing, very much informed by a lot of Catholic guilt and shame, as always.
Catholicism, next step, lesbian ping pong. Next step, neopronouns.
Pronouns, yeah.
Slay.
That's my story.
Wow.
So true.
Oh, being 13 in the Philippines during
In a car!
Without
no
a seatbelt.
Without a
Oh,
seatbelt
no.
in the summer where it's so hot in the Philippines and so humid. And I was like, is that why?
The lesbian is being sweat out of me. This
I
car.
understand. Ugh.
Oh my god.
So real.
Now it's your turn.
Yeah, my turn.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Well, it was like kind of a long story, so I guess I'll skip to the more relevant one. But basically, I grew up like pretty conservative Christian, so
Oh yeah.
I had my
Yeah.
homophobic era embarrassing in like middle school. And then I think I got on like Tumblr in like freshman year of high school. And I started to like, well, one, I found out like gay people were like normal from fanfiction.
Whoa! Oh my god.
And then I was friends with people in fandom who started like were gay, or like some of them came out as like trans and stuff. And I was like, well, they're like normal people, so maybe queer people are normal.
What if I did that?
Yeah, and
What
then
if
I was like,
pulled a little
you know,
silly goofy mood.
I also don't think I feel like a woman. And I was like, that's strange though. So we'll just not think about that. And then I had this whole era, like through most of high school, where I was like, I think I'm non-binary, but it's just for me. Like nothing needs to change.
Secret.
I don't need to tell anyone.
Yeah.
But I am. But then I went to college, and I made friends with like queer people who were, because like I knew queer people in high school, but everyone was kind of confused. Like we all didn't know what was going on because Christianity's like knowledge, no. So I met like queer people who had gone to like public school, and so actually were like more established in their like queerness and stuff.
You're like,
And
I was allowed to walk around.
Exactly.
And go to lunch with my gay friends. It was weird.
Exactly. And so my friend, well, fun fact, they were also Korean, so I guess that's tying in the intersectionality. And I was like trying so hard to figure out if my friend was queer or not. And I would like ask them like questions. I'd be like, so which music do you listen to? But my only framework for queer people was Tumblr. So I was like looking.
Do you listen to Troye Sivan?
Yeah, I was like, do you listen to like Hosier or like, do you listen? I don't even know. It was so silly. And then I found out later that they were literally feeding me answers that they thought I would think was queer. Because we couldn't really be out like at my, because I went to a Christian college, so we couldn't really like tell like outright.
Oh,
but like
read Rainer's article about his terrible college.
So
Ding.
true.
Ding.
So we couldn't really like, yeah, but anyway, so we like got closer, and then I was just talking to my friend, and it was like, it's like 2 a.m. or something, and then
That's a gay hour. The gay hour.
exactly, we're sitting in like the lounge in like the darkness, and they're like, have you ever considered that you're a trans man? And I was like, you're right though. And then I just couldn't, I had to turn and face the music.
Not facing the
so
music.
wild.
So I feel like that was kind of my realization.
That's so funny. I love that it was about you too. It's like, it's not them going like, I think I'm trans. It's like, do you think? I think you might
They're
be
trans now too.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Everybody trans.
Yes,
Everybody
like-
becomes trans at some point. Did you guys know?
exactly. Like
As
I don't
evidenced by every person in this room.
actually,
Of 5, including your friend.
this is such a okay. So when my mom, I told my mom, can you tell my grandparents, like her parents, that I'm trans because I don't really have the language like capability to convey that to them because they like mostly only speak Korean. But I was like, so what did they say? And then my mom tells me that my grandpa said that he was just like, okay, and then he was like, that's just the natural evolution of man. And that was his only response.
Philosophical.
Yeah, so I guess like according to my grandpa, yes,
Okay.
everyone does become trans
The
at some
natural
point.
evolution of man is to become transgender.
Yeah, literally.
The natural evolution of women is to become men. Hell yeah. As they should.
Slay.
Rah rah. I agree.
God.
It's true.
No, that's so... I've heard this story before, so it's like, it's just so insane to me. I'm like, every time I think about it, I'm just like, what did he mean?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know what he meant.
You're like, I
frankly.
can't exactly
Funny.
ask because it's like, okay, Grandpa, I have a follow-up question.
What did you mean?
What are you talking about?
What is
Then he's like, I've been trans this whole time, and then he's like a magician, he disappears.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, apparently, like, when my cousins were in, like, Seoul with him, they were passing by, like, the Seoul, like, Pride Parade, and then he just, like, taps my cousin on the shoulder and then points at them, and he's like, huh, gay. And then in English. In English. He doesn't speak English.
Oh my
I'm
god!
dead.
And that was
He got
just...
possessed by a white gay person. for a
Yeah,
second.
literally.
Huh.
Gay. And then he just laughed. He just chuckled.
That's ridiculous.
So, ally? Or...
Ally?
I don't even
Secret
know.
Grandpa Ally?
Acting on a different plane of knowledge?
Yeah,
Potentially.
Maybe he's a wizard or something. That's
Very
right.
possible.
Oh my god.
oddly based grandpa?
Based rare Grandpa W.
Very
LOL.
rare for you.
Oh my god. Well, middle school, man. Damn. I'm just like, yep, that feels real. It's funny too. Do you guys have any experiences of like your parents or extended family or anything like also kind of going through like similar things and potentially like their like ethnicity / like racial identity like conflicts with their queerness? Does like anyone else in your family are you the gay cousin?
Yeah.
I can speak about this first because I am actually not out to my family.
Oh. Oh wow. Considering.
Yeah, that's true.
I am not out to let me rephrase that. I am not out to my parents or my grandparents or any of my blood relatives. I'm out to my siblings.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I within our like family structure, we have extended family who aren't blood related. They're just like family friends.
Yeah.
but I do have a gay cousin. We are
Slay.
both the gay cousins.
Yeah.
So that's that for us. That's the only win we're having.
That's the tiny, tiny win.
The tiny win, because truly it's how I perceive the topic of like queerness within my family is like, let's not talk about it. Is we won't talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I will never tell you that I'm queer.
And then I'm gonna live on the GSS floor.
And then I'm gonna live in the gay floor.
And I'm gonna
be
live
the community development
prom court
intern.
at the queer prom.
Gay prom. I used to hold meetings for the queer club at my community college.
Did you go to the president?
Literally the president. Just also this was during COVID, so I'd be in my room doing these Zoom
Oh
meetings
my god!
and being like gay, and then
Healthy
just
as fuck.
not really. My door would be sometimes open, and my parents would walk by, and then it would just be like, "Don't perceive."
Don't
You're not
perceive.
hearing anything.
I am not a rainbow.
And they're also just like,
Not a
understandable.
rainbow.
I am not hearing anything. It's to the
Wow.
point where I'm like, if you think I'm straight and
That's a little
cis,
embarrassing.
that's
That's
on
on
you.
you.
No, literally, it's like
That's on them.
yeah, but this is something that I have had to grapple with a lot, being like, I just won't be out to them because there is this like sense of like just this like slight sense of like, okay, first they were raised under Catholicism, so it's like,
Yep.
oh no,
Rough.
that's rough. There's been
Facts.
some just comments that do occur that are like whenever like vaguely like LGBTQ plus things come around, and it's just like, I'm not hearing, I'm not perceiving,
No.
don't talk to me about this.
Oh, it's a rape! Fuck! Run! It's a rainbow!
No, literally, I was watching a TV show, and then they were like, I was like downstairs in like the like big TV or like the living space or whatever,
Uh-huh.
and my dad, and there were two guys kissing on the TV, and my dad's just like, why are there two guys kissing on the TV? And I was like,
Because he wrote it into the script.
I was like, funny. So there's just that sort of sense of like, we just won't talk about it. And the only sense of queerness that they have like maybe a reference to is one of the funnier things to me about Filipino language is that they never refer to lesbians as lesbians. They're just like, they're always called tomboys. It's just like, they're just
Yeah.
tomboys.
That tomboy is
And
kissing
it's
another
just like,
tomboy.
so true.
So
So
funny.
there is this sense where I'm just like, oh, I am very sad that I can't really be out to my parents in that way.
Mhm.
But at the very least, I can learn about Filipino culture and its ties to queerness because there is some. Because
Yeah.
that's
There always
right.
is. And then
There's-
the white people came and were like, no, don't do that.
Exactly. Before colonization, beautiful.
There's some more genders, probably. Like,
Just like, yeah. So that's me.
that's me and my not so accepting parents.
Yeah.
Great.
That's so real.
That happens within Asian American communities. And unfortunately, I know other queer Filipino people who are like in the same position.
Mhm.
It is one of the things where just like, well, it's okay. We have each other.
Yep, the gay
Good
cousins. Yeah.
enough.
Well,
Yeah.
Either of you, are you the only gay cousin or any like family dynamics or anything like that you want to share? Please spill everything about your
my
internal
personal
family.
life. Yes. My internal family politics.
Yes.
No, I'm pretty sure I'm the only gay cousin. I mean,
But
unless,
hey.
yeah, unless my cousins want to say something, which I truly invite
Get in the
them
comments,
to.
Lily's cousins.
Yeah.
Are you on the
Just
older or
right now.
younger side?
I'm on my Asian side. See, it's so like, because I'm half Mexican,
Mm-hmm.
so I have lots of cousins in the Mexican side that I don't know very well. And on the Japanese side, I only have one cousin.
Oh, that's so real.
Yeah.
Okay, so
and then-
statistically less likely for that one
statistically
cousin
less
to be
likely.
gay.
And there's only like, and everyone else is just, I have a very small Japanese family.
Mhm.
And like not, and then the extended relatives, I don't know very well. But yeah, and then of my Japanese family, I'm not out to any of them. I'm still like closeted because some of them are cool with it. So I could come out to them, but I'm just haven't really done it.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's like a hassle still.
Yeah.
Even
yeah,
if,
it's like
even
a
if
thing to do. Like, do I text them?
on your
Like,
fucking to-do list, you're like,
Yeah.
potentially
Come out.
all grandma.
Literally. But like my like immediate family, like my Japanese dad, he's homophobic for real. Like
For real, for real.
For real. So I'm not going to come out to him.
Understandable.
Yeah, he's spicy, and
My spicy Japanese father
He's
doesn't like gay
spicy-
people.
he's spicy in many ways, actually. So,
Spicy meaning bigoted?
spicy being bigoted.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And just kind of a jerk, you know. So he doesn't even know what major I am in college.
Are you
so,
kidding?
You know,
Oh my god.
yeah, that's gonna be fun. That's kind of funny.
I think I graduated with my degree in redacted.
He will not even. He doesn't even know when I'm gonna graduate. He's just a spicy man. Anyway,
He's just a dude. A
he's
classic
just a
fucking
dude.
man.
Yeah, he's just a dude. Anyway,
Maybe that's why you thought
that's
all
all-
men were stinky.
yeah,
Potentially.
literally, the trauma, the male trauma. Anyway,
Uh-oh.
sorry, men's. Anyway, you are not
Stop
my
being
father.
like my dad and,
No,
it'll work out.
Well, if they're like your dad, avoid them.
Avoid
Yeah,
them.
avoid them. Red flag. And oh god, I forgot where I was going with this. Yeah, and then the only person I'm out to in my family is my mom and my aunt, and she's very funny. She'll be like, hey, like, are you in your LGBT club today? Like,
Aww.
she's like cutely supportive.
That's cute.
Yeah, she tries. And
Your
then
mom or your
my
mom?
aunt, and then my mom. I came out to my mom, but both my mom and my aunt are my Mexican side. So, but they've been very accepting. So is my Mexican grandmother. But yeah, that's not really a saying on any on people because Mexican
On racial politics.
Yeah, that's not really. That's just my personal situation. Yeah.
Because guess who was also colonized by the Spanish?
Yeah. So
Ding, ding, ding.
Catholicism is
Uh-oh.
real big on my Mexican side.
It's
Uh-oh.
connecting.
And then I guess fundamental Christianity on my Japanese side.
Oh, that's
They-
interesting.
Yeah, they're fundamentalist Christians, super duper old fashioned, super traditional
Uh-huh.
family. Like my father expects to be served.
Ooh.
He doesn't even get up to get a glass of water.
Wow.
He expects the women in the house to serve him
What?
and any other men that are around. So if there's a male guest, he'll be like, "Can you serve him?" These things so I don't know. I think that's partly a very traditional Japanese culture that they kind of instilled
Mhm.
because that's how my grandma is too. So yeah, my Japanese grandma. So there is that, and then Japanese gender roles, which is wild. But yeah, I think that I am the only, so far as I know, I think I'm the only gay person in my Japanese side of my family.
We'll put a bookmark just in case that
Just
one
in
Japanese
case.
cousin
Yeah.
comes out
I hope
miraculously.
one of them does. I hope
Yeah, and then you're like, oh my god, based, me too.
Lit.
Or, oh my god, this heart.
Hurt.
that I can barely
Hurt.
fuck finger. Do you want to share anything, Rainer? You don't have to, but
Oh yeah, no, that just made me think at my family gatherings and stuff too. I feel like this is not that uncommon. It's unfortunate, but I feel like it is common. But we're all eating, and then the guys are just sitting there, and all the women are just
Yes.
cleaning up, cooking, and it's trickles down to the kids too, because it's even once you hit I don't know teenager girl you're expected to start cleaning and helping too, but the guys are just sitting there, and I'm
Yeah.
why do the optics of this not look terrible to you?
It's
guys,
so
it is
offensive.
2023.
Yeah.
Come on, feminism was
Seriously.
introduced a while ago.
And
Yeah.
not to be sick and twisted, but I think that's why my dad is kind of silly goofy, because he's an eldest Korean son, and
Silly
the way
goofy
that
as a
Asians
synonym.
treat their eldest sons is not a slay, methinks.
Yeah, if you get any calluses on your feet.
Yeah,
It's-
literally,
yeah.
it's everyone, mother, wife, everyone is gonna expected to wait on them hand and foot, which is not a slay.
Not a slay.
Not
So, but yeah.
Yeah, that's so I just thought my dad's also the eldest son and a
Yeah, maybe
Japanese-
that's why he's problematic.
I know. I'm
Introduce a
Yeah.
lie and say he has a fake older brother. Oh my god, maybe he'll be better.
Damage has
Yeah.
already been
Secret!
done.
I unearthed
Older
this
brother.
man. And
Yes.
it's someone you hired off of Craigslist.
just find some Japanese man.
Yeah, it's he looks older and related to you. That's fine.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Well,
Yeah.
on a positive, so that you guys aren't recounting your childhood trauma with your fathers.
Oh,
Fathers!
yeah, I know, like, I can say positive. My sibling is queer.
Oh, slay.
And also
Oh.
my uncle who lives with us is also queer.
Slay.
Oh.
So that's a slay. But also,
Classic
like,
gay uncle.
I mean, I don't, yeah. Gay uncle is,
Interesting.
he vibes, I guess.
He's interesting. What? You don't have to get it.
I mean, I'm just thinking, because, like, I'm like, my mom listens to this.
Oh my god!
Slay,
I'm
love
sorry,
you,
I'm
mom.
being a bad influence.
Yeah, no, I think it's because he also grew up like very, not to be sick and twisted again, but
Your synonyms
my
for words. Are
but my grandparents on my father's side are quite conservative, and so they're kind of haters. And so they don't really talk to my uncle about being gay. Like,
Yeah.
they talk to him and stuff, but, like, they just, like, he came out when he was, like, 30, I think, and then they just didn't talk about it again.
Sure.
This is kind of the vibes. I don't know. I think they're, like, they're in their silly era. It's okay. That's a whole other story. But basically, he also grew up, like, really Christian and stuff, so I think it was a different time then, too, because I think, like, growing up in, like, the 80s and stuff, as, like, a Korean, like, gay guy was not in a Christian, like, situation, was not very, like, good. So, but, I mean, he's, like, fine now, I think.
Do you think?
I think.
That's good.
Slay.
I see him in the house sometimes. He's
Yeah.
alright.
I think he's, like, I think it's been, like, good for him, though, to, like, because my sibling and me, like, since we're both, like, queer and stuff, and we all, like, live in the same house, I think it's been nice for him to, like, you know, experience, I guess, like, a little bit of, like, slightly more normal, like, queerness and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Because I feel like he's, like, a little bit more comfortable with, like, talking about it and stuff now. So that's, like, nice to see.
Yay. That's good. Shout out to Rainer's uncle.
Yeah, love you.
If you're watching this, Illy.
Support your
Amazing.
gay uncles.
But yeah, to pivot to something that's potentially good, do you all have any favorite queer Asian American representation or figures or characters or headcanons that you particularly enjoy? You mentioned Joy from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Lily?
Oh,
Oh,
slay.
so true.
Which you wrote an article about Rainer. Rainer has written articles. Ding ding.
Slay.
That's on the
I
screen.
brains.
Definitely watched that movie for sure.
Have you not?
I've not.
You've not seen it? Oh my god! I thought you said.
I was saying
I
that
thought you said rewatch it like
no,
you watched it
I was
before.
saying I should have watched it.
Oh, okay.
You-
Well,
you-
Lily's
you
been
should watch
evicted from
it,
the,
like,
from the show.
I
Life-changing,
Literally,
world-altering.
literally sobbing fully for
sobbing,
the last
screaming,
15 minutes.
Screaming, crying, throwing up.
see that's like the way you guys are selling it. I'm like, do I want to scream, cry, and throw up?
But
Yes.
it's also like
I'm
a kung
like,
fu movie a little bit, which is kind
Oh,
of fun.
ooh, that
Yeah,
is a
Michelle
little
Yeoh
fun.
does most of her own stunts.
Oh shit!
It's crazy, yeah. They're like,
Ooh.
they're like, it's not like Marvel editing. I'm just like, yeah, there's an emotional meeting, but also they fight in it, so it's
Okay.
pretty cool.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's like, it's very, I mean, it's like, they call it an absurdist comedy because it's like ridiculous, but also very meaningful.
So slay.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah, I think the
sweet.
fight scenes were like based on the style of like old style
Yeah,
like
yeah.
martial arts movies and stuff.
It's
So
really cool.
Ooh.
it's kind of slay.
Very cool.
But like the
Oh,
queerness in it.
everything.
But then
The
there's that part.
relationship
Yes, and
between
then
the
there's
mother and
lesbianism.
daughter and queer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally, I was watching this film in
Uh-huh.
theaters for the
Oh,
first
no.
time with my other Filipino queer friend next to me, and both of us
Oh.
were destroyed at the end of that
Yeah.
movie. We were just like, damn, wish our mothers loved us.
LOL.
LOL!
Yeah, I
So
know.
goofy.
Every single person I went with was sobbing by the end, and then we had the guy in the row in front of us take a picture of us while we were all crying, and then he
Oh my
accidentally took a
gosh.
picture of himself. So we just have this picture
So
on my
funny.
friend's camera roll of this guy going like, and then the flash is just in his face. He did get the picture of us eventually.
I was
Oh,
like,
but
yeah,
I was
notice.
like, love you, random dude in the theater.
That's
that was so
really
silly
funny.
of him.
Did you?
So
So you asked him? You're
iconic.
like,
Yeah, we were like, can you take a
While
picture?"
sobbing.
And everyone was like
Stop.
crying.
before our tears
And then
dry up.
we listened to like the end song with like, because my friends are like
Oh,
really big
Mitski.
Mitski fans. And so they were sobbing for like
she
the
was
entire
nominated for
30-minute
for that
ride
song
back.
at the Oscars.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
slay.
Yeah,
She should have
but
won.
They had a. I don't know. I think the song from RRR, which is
Oh, never mind. That's valid.
which is
that was
also
a slay
Asian,
too.
so that works. That's
Yeah,
that's a
that-
win still.
That is a movie that people should also watch. It is, you will experience so many things in like 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because
It's like an adventure movie. Isn't
have
it?
you seen it?
My mom's seen it. She described it to me.
It's like the tonal shifts in that movie are like it's a great movie because it talks about like colonization and stuff and like fighting back against it, but it goes from like the most traumatic colonization to scene to like we're dancing and like having like a whole musical number to like the most like touching bromance.
Oh.
And then like yeah, it's like it's wild. It has everything.
Wow.
Everything.
Everything.
Everywhere.
No!
Potentially.
Except gay people.
Oh, well.
But you know, there's a hint. There's a hint of maybe something.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of pretty.
Spice.
I feel like those two guys like I don't know.
Subtext. It's about the
I love
subtext.
I love the hand gesture.
Yeah, your
Hilarious.
little
Hilarious.
grabby hand.
Yes.
But yeah, do you have any other queer Asian American characters? Doesn't have to be American, I guess, but.
Oh, like the half of it, that movie, I feel like, okay, honestly, not to be a hater, but it was a little boring. But I will say that's like the first time I watched like an Asian American film and I was like, she's actually relatable. Because
a white person did not write this.
yeah, so true. Because she was like, I mean, she was like kind of like nerdy and stuff, which I guess technically falls into stereotypes. But just like even the styling of her, like I feel like that's such a like that's a look that that's what I looked like when I was in like early high school, middle school with like the ponytail and the like clowny little like t-shirts and like the hoodie and then the like little wireframe glasses. Like I was like, yeah, that's what it's like to be like a young queer Asian person.
Aww.
But yeah, that was.
What was it called? The half of it?
The half of it, yeah.
Is it like a rom-com or what's
It's like a rom-com. It's based on, I forget what it's called, but it's that story where like the one guy asked another guy to like write letters to this woman he likes, but then the guy who's writing the letters for him ends up falling in love with the woman. But it's like the queer version.
Yeah.
That's just Cyrano de Bergerac.
Yeah, it's like based on some sort of classic thing.
Yeah, Cyrano de Bergerac.
Yeah, okay, yeah, then it must be that thing. Then
And that's also the plot of Sierra Burgess is a Loser, except that movie sucks. So.
Ah, gross.
That movie's really
wild
gross.
for real.
Disgusting.
Also,
Damn.
check out Neon Milk on YouTube. They're like Korean drag queens, and it was so healing for me to see like Korean drag because I had okay, well, this is getting back to depressing things, but I had a long era where it's because when I was realizing I was queer at my like Christian college, I kind of started to like present more in a queer way. Like I cut my hair again because when I entered college, I had cut my hair in high school, but when I entered college, I was like, I'm gonna be normal, whatever that means.
Sure.
And so I like grew out my hair. I was like modeling like my fashion after like the class president from my like Christian like academy, and like I was trying to be like the Christian girl and stuff. And then I was like, fuck this, and I like cut my hair and stuff again, and then slowly, like, as I started to present more queer, like, all the queer, because, like, the Korean church there would divide all the Korean, like, college students up into small groups, and we would go to someone's house and, like, do worship together, and, like, it was to connect, like, the upperclassmen with the underclassmen, and, like, cook dinner and stuff, and, like, that kind of thing, and then they all started to, like, exclude me and stuff.
Aww.
Yeah, which was, like, not slay, and, like, my other friends, too, especially the ones who, like, had neurodivergent vibes. Which was like also I don't know about that, but that kind of happened. So then I had never really had that era of being like, am I not Korean enough? Because I had the privilege of growing up in like SoCal around like a lot of other Asians, and I was like, I'm Korean, so like what can be not Korean enough? But then when that started to happen, I started to like low-key have doubts and stuff because I was like, maybe I can only choose like one, like I can only be like queer or I can only be like Asian, because it felt like people were saying like, oh, being queer is like a white person thing, like that's like from America and like that kind of thing. So I think that like going back to the original topic, seeing the like Korean like drag queens, and honestly like just was so nice because it was like they're in Korea, like they're Korean, but they're still like very openly visibly queer and like living their best lives and stuff. And so it was just like very healing and slay to be like, wow, you can be queer and Korean. And also that helped to make friends who are also queer and Korean and were like very connected to their culture, like spoke Korean, and like not that you have to like be connected to your culture, but it was just nice to see like, oh, you're like both, because you can be both at the same time.
The real answer was to not be Christian.
Snaps.
Yeah, that was the real
be
answer.
Korean and queer, but
Yeah,
Not
it's
Christian.
a triangle. You can only have two.
You can only have two.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh my god. What about you, Belzy? Do you have any?
I'm really thinking, okay, I think about as a
There aren't
Filipino
that
person.
many.
Yeah, specifically as a Filipino person, what I grew up around was a lot of Filipino soap operas.
Uh-huh.
And that's it. Like, those TV shows, like, ingrained in my mind are the sounds of susunod, like, in the middle of the night. And it's one of those things where it's just, like, it's, like, very, like, cringe. It's very, like, archetypal. It's very, like...
It's
this
like
is
Days
so
of Our
spooky.
Lives, essentially.
Exactly. And, like, obviously these are all very much just, like, heterosexual, like, relationships portrayed or in these Filipino TV soap operas. But if you want to know the tea that my sister told me from her other friend is that a lot of Filipino actors are actually, like, gay, but, like, they can never say that. A lot of them have
Ooh.
That's really
beards, and it's,
true.
like, makes sense.
The arts, I mean.
Exactly. And then, weird other thing about Filipino, like, pop culture is that there is, like, very, like, much a Filipino trans population, like, in the Philippines that just isn't discussed much.
Mhm.
There's one particular, like, trans person on, like, in, like, mainstream Filipino TV who I'm just like, you're a little problematic, but you're there, I guess.
But you're transgender!
It's
Yeah.
like, but trans, yay! And so it's, like, really, like...
Once again, you can only have two things.
Exactly.
No, in trans or problematic.
And it's like, well, they're all problematic within the media sphere of the Philippines because they're all under corruption. But it's okay!
Hey, I love the Filipino
Yay!
president. So slay.
I love you, Filipino president. No, I can't even say that. I can't even say that.
Can't even say that. Not even slash gender.
Banished from my mind.
Slash fuck you, dude. Like, yeah.
Quaking,
Yeah.
crying, throwing up. But,
If you're watching this.
if you're watching this, back to the actual question. The one person that sticks with me a lot is this Filipino singer who was famous in, like, the 2010s and who had, like, I sort of grew up with them and then, like, sort of, like, in the same line, like, he had come out as, like, a trans man.
Mhm.
And it was just like, oh my god, slay.
Slay.
Someone that I knew.
What's the name?
Slay.
Very nice. Okay, his name is Jake Cyrus, which I was just like, of all of the names that you could choose
Jake.
as a Filipino man, I'm just like, no, not this, because
Not
all
Jake.
Filipino men have a name that starts with J.
Ah!
Anyways, but it's okay, because he's still slay, because his singing is incredible. Anyways,
And he's
Yeah.
transgender!
and he's
Yay.
a trans man, and I'm just like, thank you. Thank
Thanks
you
for doing
my
that.
life.
For me in particular.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, you guys have a lot written for this last question, I feel like.
Oh.
But
Crying.
what advice would you give your younger self or to any young like Asian American queer kids? Without sobbing. If possible.
I guess, like, for me, like, I think we were talking about, like, feeling like you have to choose, like, an identity and, like, being, like, Asian or being queer, because queer is such, like, it's so, like, society deems it as, like, a white
Incompatible with being
activity,
a person of
lifestyle. Yeah. And so I think, like, when I first came to, like, UCLA, I was, like, trying to find myself so badly. And so I would be, like, I would go to, like, the Japanese club. I would go to, like, I would go to, like, the queer clubs, and I would go to, like, at the time I didn't know I was, like, trans, like, non-binary, but so I didn't, like, check that out, though that would have been probably pretty good. But and so I would just go to all kinds of different clubs, and then even like community service clubs, you know, hobbies clubs, and then I just, like, did not feel, I think it was just, like, the homesickness, but I just did not feel like I was, like, relating enough to any of them. I think because I was trying to fit into that mold too hard for each of them. Like, I didn't feel Japanese enough to be with the Japanese people, and then I didn't feel, like, queer enough to be with queer people, and just, like, I just didn't feel like enough for any of these, like, groups. And I think that's, like, a thing with, like, people with, like, you know, like, like intersectional identities is like trying to find your place in your people, and it just being like so much harder because you're like niche. But then when like, but at the same time, it's like you don't have to find like you don't have to try to fit the mold of that people. You can just become yourself and just like accepting yourself and just realizing that you're all of those things. And so that's actually like you're not less of anything. You're actually just so much more. And you know, you have access to like all of these cultures and like, you know, and like these communities and like, you know, and it's really just like while there's like maybe there'll be people that like won't want you in their communities, in the end, like the people that are like really that you want to surround yourself with will welcome you, and then you'll like just have more in the end. So I would like tell myself to not worry about not fitting in anywhere or not feeling at home anywhere, and just realizing that like the people that really will matter to you and will be like your family are the people that like you for like your whole entire self.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was so
I
beautifully
love
said.
the way you like talk about it's like abundance, not like
Yay.
scarcity. That's so true.
Thank you.
Slay.
Beautiful. Okay, who wants to follow that up?
That was too big.
I think in the notes stock, I literally put, stop being emo. Go get out there and talk to people.
Uh-huh.
Because, I did have that problem when I was, like, coming into my queerness in, like, high school. And for me, I was, like, one of very few queer people. At the very least, one of few queer people that I had in my, like, immediate community, because I was also an introvert and also hated people, being emo.
Of course.
As I was.
Yeah.
So that's why don't be emo. Or at the very
people
least,
less. So that I
hate
can go
people
outside.
less. Queer people good. Queer joy real. But
Queer joy real.
queer joy real?
Hashtag
Queer
queer
joy
joy real.
Real. Especially as like that feeling of isolation is one of the worst feelings that I've ever had. Would not recommend. So especially
0 out of 10.
0 out of 10, especially as like someone who's queer and also Asian, because I would meet people who were maybe queer and then other people who were like Asian, and then it would just like there would never be like a mesh between those. So I actually did have to, similar to what you said, Lily, it's like I did have to choose between those two communities in high school, and I chose Asian people. And that's okay.
It worked for a little while.
It's okay, but when I met queer Asian people,
Based.
big brain moment.
Yeah.
Truly. Had to build that community myself, being like, I'm gonna find them. And then I did. It's beautiful. So that would be my advice to queer Asian youths.
Stop being
Don't
emo,
be
you
emo.
freaking queer Asian youths.
Go
Stop it.
outside. Talk to people. Queer joy real.
Queer joy is real.
Hashtag queer joy real.
Queer joy
That's
real.
the summary of today's episode. Hashtag queer joy real. And you'll find those people, even if it seems impossible.
Yeah.
You'll get there. There's another tiny little person, just like you, who needs to find another tiny little person, and then you'll become friends.
Are you saying tiny because we're Asian?
No,
so
no,
we're
like-
short?
No!
I'm just kidding. I'm just
tiny
kidding.
in like reference to like to the universe. Everybody feels like a little speck.
This
Oh
is
my
true.
god.
Oh,
Cancel
you're
Chris.
also-
I'm a 6'2" white man.
calling us
So awkward. Oh my god. Alright, what the fuck do you have to say now?
That was so wild.
so many I think like definitely you don't have to think so like ultimately you can just like you can if you're thinking so much about being queer, you probably are. Number
Whoa.
one.
Shit.
Because yeah, that was such a thing for me in like high school. I was like, am I really? Am I not? Am I really? But I think like, just that's also an effect of the environment, I think, because it was very like black and white. If you were one, couldn't really be the other kind of thing. Well, yeah. But okay. Well, I guess like I'm taking this like Korean literature class in gender and sexuality right now, and I think something that's like really important to like remember and like I suggest like young queer Asian people like connect with is like we weren't always like this. Like a lot of Asian American communities, as we've spoken about, have a lot of issues with like homophobia and like honestly sexism and stuff too. But that's like really an effect of like colonization because I found out recently that Korea didn't really have a concept of like romantic love in the sense of like you're very dedicated to like one person, you like devote all your time and energy to them, like that kind of thing like we have nowadays. That only came about after like 1910, which is extremely recent. And before that, like I there's not that much scholarship on it, unfortunately, because it's kind of a new field, like queer studies in like Korea, and a lot of queer scholars don't really talk about like classical Korean literature and stuff because they think it's boring, I guess. I don't know. That's what my professor said. But
it's okay. It's a general classical literature problem.
Yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen though, but it's like definitely gonna happen. But in the past, like there was definitely like more room for queerness and less like there was more room for like fluidity and stuff, and like so it's not a white thing. It's something that's been present in like all cultures, and it's like really healing to like I think connect with like specifically how your culture was before before colonization, because I think that can be like very eye-opening and like remind us that we can slay again. We slayed once and we can slay again. Yeah.
Another fantastic quote from the couch. We've slayed once, we may slay again.
Yes. Gay people real.
Gay people real.
And find, if you can, like definitely find other like Gaysians, because there is nothing more healing than like speaking to people who like understand you. And so I know it's like can be difficult, but like they're really gonna be the people who are gonna be your like lifelong friends. Like yeah.
Oh.
And fuck colonization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck colonization.
Yeah. OutWrite says fuck colonization. Stop doing that. Stop it.
Yeah.
Leave.
Stop it.
Leave and let us slay again. Let
us slay again.
Wonderful. Oh, well, thank you all so much for sharing your experiences and such. We're getting up on an hour now. Do you have anything else you would like to say? That was a good end note. But any other comments about being Gaysian, as you have dubbed it?
The Gaysians.
The Gaysians.
Or as I have a group
Do the
chat.
Gaysians have anything else they would like to say?
Or like I have a group chat with my friends called the Queerians.
Oh my god!
Oh my god.
Slay.
That's wonderful.
We're not Korean.
Chelsea's not in the group chat.
Neither is Lily.
Neither is Lily.
No, I think like I'm just so glad that you guys like came to this podcast, because I was so nervous that I was going to be the only Gaysian here.
That it would just be me,
the only Gaysian,
and some other white guy. And so
Lily.
And so just like this microphone in my face, like, oh,
yeah.
No, it's totally. And then I realized that I don't have a lot of Gaysian friends. I think I only have friends. One. And now I'm like, yeah, it's like hearing your guys' story and stuff. I realized that like there's so much to the gay Asian story and the intersectionality of that. And I hadn't like thought that deeply about it before, honestly. And like I feel very enlightened after this podcast.
Yay! I'm glad.
Yes.
Hashtag facilitating conversations.
Yay.
Yes, and also if you're
Hashtag
Korean,
journalism.
read Minor Feelings by Kathy Park Hong. That's such a good book. And after, okay, this is kind of anyways, but like I feel like this is gonna be, but. I feel like a lot of Asian American narratives fit into very like narrow viewpoint, like that the publishing industry allows through, where it's very like first generation, like goes through the war trauma back through like that kind of thing. But which is obviously a real and valid story that like people do experience. But I think for people who are like second gen and on, it can be kind of unrelatable. But I feel like Minor Feelings touches on a lot of the like specific, hard to articulate things that will really like resonate, I think, with a lot of like Korean, East, and probably other East Asian people as well in America.
Cool. I'll put that book cover on the screen. Amazing. Well, you can follow OutWrite on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook at, oh yeah, you guys have to do hard hands while I do the outro. At OutWrite Newsmag. You can also see our tri-weekly articles on our website at, no, fuck, I fucked it up. OutWriteNewsmag.org. Yeah, do the K-pop part. Oh my god, I messed it up. It's too late. It's spelled WRITE. It's a pun. Look it up. It's on the screen. I've been Christopher. You go.
We're making
We're busy.
Yeah.
What are your names again?
I was Belzy, they, them, Jesham.
Rainer, he, him.
Lily, any pronouns?
Slay. Thank you for slaying with us. We will slay again next week. Goodbye. Woo, happy AAPI month.